Meet, this is Julian. He is an excellent marriage consultant, but no woman stays with him for more than 2 weeks. He brings them bad luck. His women either end up in the hospital several times a week or their careers collapse. Julian is invited to the wedding ceremony, where he must reconcile the newlyweds among themselves. Otherwise, there will be no wedding. Julian reconciles the newlyweds and saves the wedding. At the wedding, the main character meets Joanna, a charming blonde who works as a designer in a large company. She modestly calls her new interlocutor a savior, talks nicely with him, but after a while says that she needs to move away. Julian wanted to run after her, but then he remembered that she was an unlucky guy. The first time it all started was when Sidoni invited me to her birthday party. The birthday girl accidentally set fire to her costume on the cake candles when she wanted to make a wish. Then there was Nadesh. When Julian decided to kiss Nadesh, she accidentally fell into the water. Julian forgot to remove his hand from the control lever. Next was Patricia. By chance, with his finger, Julian turned on the burners of the electric stove to maximum power.
Je sais, ça peut paraître complètement dingue, et tout portait à croire que j'étais comme un chat noir dont les filles ne devaient pas croiser la route.
The next girl turned out to be allergic to Julian's saliva. She hated him and drove him away. At work, Joanna goes to meet the head designer, Felipe Marcus. He is tasked with designing an electric car for DuPont. Philip appoints Joanna as his assistant. Then, with her husband, she comes to work for Julian, where he failed to save her marriage. Left alone, our heroes decide to go to the gaming club to relax, where they have fun. As a result, both wake up in the same bed. After breakfast, the lovers decide to have dinner together in the evening. Meanwhile, Joanna booked a taxi to get to work. The driver turns out to be a Chinese who does not know the city at all. Somehow arriving at work, Joanna gets stuck in an elevator with a stranger who shows sympathy for her. His name is Martin, and he is the son of the company's chief executive, Marcin DuPont. Further, the action of the film takes us to a Korean restaurant where Joanna and Julian are having dinner. Julian remembers that he brings bad luck to the girls and begins to panic about everything and worries about Joanna. The film takes us to a presentation from Marco's narcissistic weird design. Everyone is disappointed by his DuPont electric car prototype. Joanna and her co-worker are in the closet discussing the odd designer and criticizing him harshly. Then Joanna and her mother visit a massage salon. She gets injured and ends up in the hospital where Dr. Vincent works. The doctors mistakenly want to operate on Joanna because the nurses mixed up the patients. Only Julian's bad luck can create such an absurd situation. Thank God he comes to the hospital on time and stops the operation. Joanna is visited by her mother and a friend from work in the hospital. Everyone concludes that Julian is bringing bad luck. Nevertheless, Joanna agrees to come visit her boyfriend at her parents' country house, this time without adventures and various troubles. Julian's father declares that, only thanks to his son, they have a strong and friendly family. Everything went smoothly at first, but it did not last long. Joanna goes to the toilet to talk to her mother, who called her to ask if she was okay. During the conversation, Joanna is distracted by the owner's dog. Not calculating the strength, Joanna throws the ball hard and it flies out the window. The dog jumps for the ball through the window and lands on the trampoline. After a second jump, the dog happily lands on the brazier, from which a hot fork bounces and flies into the roof to the storks, the owner's favorite birds. As a result, the stork's nest is on fire and a fire breaks out on the roof, which they manage to put out. Finally, Julian tells Joanna everything that he always had bad luck with girls. Early in the morning, Joanna decides to sketch for an electric car. Then our film heroes go to the railway station so that Joanna can take the train to work and present the sketch. During the trip, a wheel falls off the car and an accident occurs. Joanna runs to the station and catches the train in time. Arriving, the whole team goes to the hotel, which had slot machines. At work, Julian ends up with Joanna's bag, who mistakenly took his bag. He tries to call her, but she also forgot her phone. Julian urgently goes to work with Joanna. Deciding to try her luck, she beats the machine several times. Once again, naively overjoyed that everything is fine, she tells her friend that there are no bad luck and it's all in the past. There is a presentation of a sketch of an electric car by the narcissist designer Felipe Marcus for the shareholders of the company, who decide whether to approve the production of the car or not. The prototype of the car was a copy of the Citroën D's. The presentation fails. The designer just goes crazy. Japanese shareholders do not tolerate such unprofessionalism and decide to leave the meeting. But they are stopped by Joanna, who decides to present her sketch to them. But since Julian's bag is with her, she takes out of it the wrong thing. It is a device for intimate pleasures. Meanwhile, Julian is a few seconds late for the presentation. Joanna is disappointed. And why does she need such an unlucky guy? Our heroes decided to take a walk by the fountain. Finally, Julian returns the sketches to Joanna, but a strong wind blows them into the fountain. Despite her best efforts, she fails to save her car sketches. Joanna starts screaming and chases the unfortunate Julian away.
J'en peux plus, c'est terminé. C'est fini. Laisse-moi. Laisse-moi jamais, d'accord?
Martin wants to support Joanna and once again compliments her. Julian decided to return to his parents outside the city. There, she finds her father with his mistress. The father explains that in his personal life, he and his wife actually had disagreements, but they decided not to divorce and save the marriage. At the same time, everyone lived their own lives. For himself, Julian concludes that his whole life is built on deception and decides to fix everything. At work, his assistant tells how she visited a hypnotist when she was depressed. And he also advises him to consult a specialist. She says that the hypnotist helped her find the source of her troubles. Joanna's mom supports her daughter in her difficult personal life and notices an intimate toy in her bag. Joanna gets inspired by the toy and draws a new sketch from it. The boss is very surprised and approves of the sketch. He says it reminds him of something. The boss also promises to call the lead designer to give Joanna a chance to finalize the project. The manager's son, Martin, persistently continues to flirt with Joanna, tells how cool and nice he is, and invites her to dinner. Julian decided to visit a hypnotist, where he drinks an incomprehensible liquid and plunges into a trance. In his memories, he finds out that all his troubles are from the fact that his classmate Damien Margot cursed him when Julian kissed his girlfriend. The search began for a classmate who, as it turned out, worked in a bank and did not immediately recognize the one who dared to kiss his girlfriend. After an emotional fight, classmate Damien lifts the curse. To celebrate, Julian runs to dinner with Joanna and Martin, where he says that there is no longer any curse. But here, again, trouble occurs. Joanna has a lot of acne on her face. These are allergies to oysters. Without saying a word, Julian just leaves. Meanwhile, the company approved Joanna's electric car prototype. Of course, if it can be considered a car, without a doubt, the Japanese shareholders know better. At a sales launch party, Martin meets Joanna and tells her that she is just a present for the company and says that constant bad luck can happen for good. Joanna catches herself thinking that, in fact, Julian brings good luck. Without all the failures, she would not have realized her dream. Julian is the main success in his life. Joanna comes to Vincent to find out where Julian has gone. Vincent also can't reach him by phone. In fact, Julian went to a monastery where there are no women. Once on the radio, he learns that Martin is getting married to one of the employees who was involved in the creation of the electric car. Julian leaves the monks and rushes to the wedding. But it turns out that it's not Joanna who is getting married, but her friend, colleague from work. Julian doesn't understand anything and walks away, but Joanna calls him over to her. They are happy that they have finally found each other, and they kiss passionately. And this is where the movie ends. Friends, what do you say? How did you like the movie? I hope this kind and heartwarming film leaves you in a wonderful mood. Goodbye, everyone, and see you again.